Good morning, Dan and Amy. I mean, I cannot hear that crazy Keith Olbermann rant enough times. He is just unintentionally hysterical. Dan Patrick must think, oh my gosh,
happened?
I'm so happy I got away from that guy.
Well, that was a rant that he did for GQ. He's now a correspondent, right, for that magazine?
Incredible. I don't know what GQ is thinking. They must be thinking we don't like readership. Because, I mean, that 7-minute rant, you can go to Real Clear Politics and find it in addition to GQ. It is just unhinged, doesn't begin to describe it. It's really quite something. For more sober reflections on the passing scene, we're pleased to be joined by our friend Bret Baier, of course, Fox News Channel host of Special Report, Monday to Friday, 5 p.m. Chicago time. Bret, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Morning.
So, big news that just breaking that Alabama Senator Jeff Sessions has been offered the Attorney General post by President-elect Trump. And I wonder if you think that will involve a confirmation fight and whether or not you've heard yet if Harry Reid is going to engineer a filibuster of that nomination, which I suppose we'll hear in the next 12 minutes.
I don't think so. I think Jeff Sessions is well respected on both sides of the aisle in the Senate. He obviously was an early supporter, the earliest supporter of Donald Trump, and had his pick of positions, we're told, in the upcoming Trump administration. Decided that he wanted to be AG. We're told he's accepted that nod. You have Lieutenant General Mike Flynn at National Security Advisor, who was offered and we're told accepted. And later today, it's expected to be announced that Mike Pompeo from Kansas will be the new CIA director.
Oh, really?
So,
interesting.
I think you're starting to see the national security choices being made first. For all the meeting tomorrow between Donald Trump and Mitt Romney, we're still told that while being considered for state, that may still be a long shot. There may be a bridge too far to get to between the two after all that was said in the campaign. But you have state and defense that's still hanging out there, and some interesting names floating around.
And now Newt Gingrich has taken himself out of the running. He said that he doesn't have time for a cabinet post, but he wants to focus on strategic planning. I thought he was a shoo-in for Secretary of State. If not Newt Gingrich, if maybe not Mitt Romney, then who?
Well, you've had some different names out there. You've had John Bolton. Mm-hmm. You've had Nikki Haley, which doesn't really fit, but she apparently was meeting for that position. You have David Petraeus as a possibility at state. And Mitt Romney was the other name. And then Rudy Giuliani is not out of the race either. He, was largely thought because of the stories about foreign money, the fact that he had his consulting firm did business with a number of foreign countries, that was going to be a problem for him. There's some talk on the inside that they may take that chance.
Is the Mitt Romney conversation, do you think that's kind of so much political positioning, if you will, to make sense for Donald Trump to show that he can let bygones be bygones, and it makes him look magnanimous and unconcerned about past bad remarks from Mitt Romney and so forth, and that he is trying to be a unifying figure? Yeah,
I think that's what you saw with Ted Cruz.
Yeah.
In the meeting. I think that's what you probably are seeing with Nikki Haley. By doing this, it generates press coverage. It generates, team of rivals possibility. And, again, talking heads talk. And then what happens is that side of the party says, wow, this guy, isn't as thin-skinned as he seemed on the campaign trail. And in reality, he chooses who he wants to choose.
Now, what do you make of reports that Donald Trump is not wanting to live in the White House? That he's truly a homebody, and even during the campaign, he would make an effort to make sure that he was home every night asleep in his comfy bed. Do you think there's any validity to this story, or do you think it's not sinking in yet, the magnitude of this job?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be an every night thing. I do think he's going to spend some time at his places. Each president has a getaway. He may choose to get away a little bit more than others. But there likely will have to be a White House component to his presidency, and a big one, because the levers of power are there. I mean, you walk down from the residence to the Situation Room.
Well, he can just have
get briefed.
He can just have Ivanka and Jared sub for him when he's not there, right? I mean, is that being overblown? Do you think that Ivanka and Jared being there for the meeting with Japanese Prime Minister Abe and all of this, that there's some kind of power behind the power couple?
I mean, listen, he does trust his children, and they are integral, but they are taking the business. That's going to present its own problems, untangling some of that and making sure that there's not a situation where he's what his businesses are doing as president of the United States. That's different. He's, I don't think, going to intertwine those. I think Jared Kushner does have, in this early stage, a lot of advice and consent power because Donald Trump trusts him.
I want to go back to Jeff Sessions for a moment. Jeff Sessions as Attorney General, does that provide any indication in terms of what might happen to Hillary Clinton and the investigations into Hillary Clinton that are ongoing?
I don't know if it does or not. You hear mixed signals about that. You hear what the president-elect said on 60 Minutes, that he's not focused on that right now. But then you hear some people in Trump's orbit that say he's going to go ahead and select a special prosecutor. If I had to bet, I would say that they don't move forward. And if the investigation is continuing, either President Obama or President Trump pardon Hillary Clinton.
But one thing they could do, I was having a conversation with a former U.S. attorney friend of mine yesterday, and he proposed kind of a middle way that's possible. I mean, he didn't say likely, but certainly possible, to avoid some of the pitfalls of the idea that he's trying to imprison his election opponent, right? But nonetheless hold her to account, a civil RICO action that would go after the corrupt organization, i.e. the Clinton Foundation, and put that out of business without jeopardizing the freedom of the Clintons.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely possible. I think that the inclination would be to keep this magnanimous kind of presentation that he's got going now, I think, to start out the new administration. That in itself, if he did that and ignored the investigations that are ongoing and did some kind of stopping move, would make some people mad because, the whole no one's above the law thing. But in the other side, half the country would say, let's move on from that.
Right. But he did say in the interview, I mean, it was strange. He said the Clintons they're good people. And that stuck with me during that interview. So to me, it sounds like it's water under the bridge.
I think you're probably right.
Let me ask you another question. Bret Baier, host of Fox News Special Report, 5 p.m. Monday to Friday, Chicago time. The prospect of Laura Ingraham being press secretary, Laura Ingraham, who's a Fox News contributor, of course, nationally syndicated radio talk show host. That would be fun.
Yeah. I think those press briefings will take on a whole new sense of things, much like if you remember the beginning of the war in Afghanistan. I was at the Pentagon, and those Von Rumsfeld press briefings were daily fare, where he essentially would skewer bad questions from reporters. I think that Laura Ingraham would take a similar take, maybe, in dealing with the press. Like, that is a ridiculous question, or I mean, it could be interesting.
I think she would take people outside and rhetorically throttle them individually in addition to the group setting.
Maybe. Listen, she's a smart lady, and she obviously is very accomplished and radio and has the LifeZet
And also people
website.
and people forget too, but I mean, because it seems like so far in the past now. But she had a prominent role at the RNC at Trump's convention, where she delivered a speech that was very well received. But the prominence of her role at the convention said something about the relationship with Trump.
Yeah, and I will tell you this. I mean, she was a part of. She made some comments after it was the second debate, I think it was, in St. Louis. And afterwards, a bunch of us went to a bar nearby and got a drink. And we were sitting there talking, and Laura turned to me and said, you know, he's going to win. And I said, what? Because this is right after the tape, the Access Hollywood tape. And the chances were, I think the Washington Post had it at 3%. And she said, no, he's going to win. This is a change election, and people are going to get to that change.
Mm-hmm.
And she was right.
She was indeed. Okay, Bret Baier, anchor, special news, a special report, Fox News Channel, 5 p.m. Central, Monday to Friday on the Fox News Network. Bret Baier, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
We'll see you guys. I'm off for Thanksgiving next week, so have a great Turkey Day.
Yeah, you too.
You
Happy
too.
Thanksgiving. Are you coming to Chicago with in-laws?
Now I'm going south to Florida.
Oh, okay.
enjoy.
Warm weather. That's smart. All right, Bret Baier, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
See ya.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.